The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria on the march. They are said now to be only 40 miles away from Baghdad. And with those 300 U.S. military advisors on the way to Iraq to try and help the Shiite government get this crisis under control, will they? Republican Congressman Trent Franks from Arizona sits in the House Armed Services Committee and joins us now from San Diego. Congressman, good to see you. Look, 300 American advisors. Can that number really turn the tide against these, fired up, ruthless Islamic militants?
Well, our special forces and some of the advisors that we're sending do have incredible ability to organize and to understand the danger that we face there. So there's certainly some efficacy to that. But, the bigger story here is when you opened the program, you mentioned the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. And that really tells the whole story if we examine it carefully, because this administration somehow has this magic ability when it comes to the Middle East and really anywhere else in the world in foreign policy to get it wrong every time. Their generals warned them that if we pulled out of Iraq without a status of forces agreement, that something like this could happen. And this ISIS group that really makes al-Qaeda look like a bunch of Cub Scouts, one of the most dangerous and brutal groups in the world. They're beheading their way across Iraq. They're killing especially Christians. And we've known about them for quite some time. This administration simply had to read their own reports of some 10,000 operations of military capacity there. They've claimed to have had 4,000 improvised explosive devices, over 1,000 assassinations. And I just don't know how this catches this administration every time. It seems like the naivete and the hell-bent notion of ignoring the danger of this jihadist ideology has bewildered our friends and emboldened our enemies.
Well,
and it's left suffering and death in the wake every time.
Congressman, some would point out Maliki didn't want us there, that the Obama administration insisted on the Parliament approving that status of forces, and that wasn't going to happen. So, this is Maliki's fault.
Well, Maliki is obviously a failed leader. There's no question about that. But this administration has projected weakness and vacillation and naivete all over the world. And if you just grant me diplomatic immunity here, Eric, I don't mean to be harsh, but somewhere on a peanut farm in South Georgia, Jimmy Carter must be breathing an enormous sigh of relief, because he knows now that he will not go down in history as the most inept president we've ever had.
Well, I want to point out again, you are a Republican.
Before anyone challenges Mr. Obama's title to that.
If I can interrupt, you are a Republican speaking. Let me point that out. But there is something in the Wall Street Journal front page today about a secret U.S. plan to aid Iraq fizzled amid mutual distrust. So the administration did try to do something secretly, says the Wall Street Journal, but it didn't work. We won't read the whole thing. Congressman, let me just get your reaction, because we only have a minute.
Well, ultimately, as you know, there are issues all over the country and the world now that I think represent some pretty serious danger to this country. This administration's even talked about allying ourselves with Iran, and that will only give them additional credibility. If Iran gains a nuclear weapons capability, which I think this helps them in that pursuit, we will need a new calendar, Eric. It will change our world that much. Our children will then walk in the shadow of nuclear terrorism, and I have to suggest to you, it just boggles and bewilders me to no end.
All right, Congressman, sorry we're out of time because of the breaking news. We'll leave it there, but I thank you for joining us, and we will be right back.